this episode, a tiger is lurking in a coffee plantation, stalking its prey. An 18-year-old worker harvesting the coffee beans. The tiger strikes, but flees the scene, only to strike again just 12 hours later. This time, the worker's grandfather is taken down. A double tragedy for the same family, but it isn't over yet. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying, fatal tiger attacks on Chetan and Raju. Welcome to Final Affliction. Situated in India's southwestern region of Karnataka lies Nagarahole National Park. It is a wilderness stretching for 250 square miles and is covered in dense forests, streams, hills, valleys, and waterfalls. It is home to an abundance of wildlife, including samba and chital deer, Indian leopards and elephants, sloth bears, gaur, and the Bengal tiger. Considered one of the biggest wild cats in the world, Bengal tigers can grow to more than 3 meters, 10 feet long, and weigh more than 200 kilograms. They are formidable predators. In this part of India, the tigers share some of their habitat with the locals. It's a dangerous existence for both species, and when tiger attacks occur, it sends shockwaves through the communities. In February 2023, this exactly happened when not one but 3 members of the same family died in quick succession. Chetan was 18 years old. He worked long hours in one of India's coffee plantations in Nanachi, an area that backs onto dense forest. It is situated in the region of Karnataka, which produces just over 70% of India's coffee. It is grown in the shadow of the mountains, producing one of the best tasting coffees in the world. But for the workers, there were risks working on the plantations. Not only did they work long, arduous hours, but there were risks from the likes of cobras in the long grass and tigers that stalked through the surrounding jungle. Plantation owners rarely paid compensation for injuries or sick leave. Workers were allowed an hour's break for lunch, but weren't given access to fresh water. They had to carry their water with them whilst working in the fields and relieve themselves in the fields. Work began at 8 a.m. and finished at 4:30 in the afternoon. Work was particularly challenging during the harvesting season between November and March. There was significant pressure from the plantation owners to pick all the coffee from the bushes before the season ended, but Chetan was used to this pressure now. Chetan belonged to the Churikadu tribe. Since the 1970s, the majority of the tribe have been evicted from their homes to make way for tiger conservation. They have been uprooted and relocated outside the reserves. Many of these people who used to farm their lands are now agricultural workers like Chetan, harvesting coffee to earn a living. Those in the community who do still farm are subjected to tiger attacks regularly. The tigers see their livestock as easy prey. Goats and sheep are regularly taken by the big cats who are on the hunt. The shepherds run, fearing for their lives, and often return later to find many of their flock injured or dead from the tiger attack. It is a difficult life living in the shadow of a tiger reserve, and whilst nuisance tigers are often tranquilized and relocated, the removal only makes room for another tiger to move into the territory. The problem is never resolved for long. Amongst the coffee shrubs, the lone tiger wandered through the cultivated rows. Oblivious to the imminent attack, Chetan continued to fill his blue plastic bucket with coffee beans. He reached up tall to grab each red bean before slinging it over his shoulder into the bucket that was slung across his back. And still the tiger kept moving forwards, inching ever closer to its unsuspecting prey. Its footsteps were delicate along the soft ground. It paused briefly, crouching down lower, when it heard the voice of another worker along one of the rows of trees. Then it continued its stealth-like approach. It was camouflaged in the shade of the trees. The dappled sunlight that settled on the plantation floor hid the tiger, whose body outline was broken up by the orange, white, and black of its fur. Not a rustle was heard, not a snap of a twig. The tiger is a masterful hunter. When it was within a few yards of the young Chethan, it rushed forwards, its powerful front limbs thundering across the ground before it leapt onto Chethan's back. He was sent crashing to the ground, the wind knocked from his lungs, his blue bucket sent flying through the air. Moments later, there was a piercing bite to the back of his neck. The force was unimaginable. The warm, moist breath of the tiger could be felt just before it delivered its fatal blow. Chethan had only managed to let out a shocked cry when he was smacked suddenly from behind with the force of the immense tiger. In an instant, it closed its jaws around his neck, suffocating him in seconds. The attack was rapid. The calls from Chethan's co-workers spooked the tiger, and it left its prey and dashed off into the surrounding wilderness. Moments later, screams rang out across the plantation as Chethan's body was found lying motionless on the ground. It was clear he had succumbed to a tiger attack. Terrified workers scanned the lines of trees, their hearts thundering in their chests, knowing the tiger was still out there. As is often the case with Hindus, the body of a loved one must be cremated within 24 hours of their death. Upon hearing of Chethan's attack, his funeral was arranged and his family attended the cremation the next day. To lose a member of the family at such a young age brought unimaginable grief to the family. One of those family members was Chethan's grandfather, Raju. It was a deeply sad ceremony, and to say goodbye to a grandson was heartbreaking. But for the family, things were about to get worse. The following morning at 6:30 a.m. on February 13th, 75-year-old Raju stepped outside his home. He lived near the Hulakal anti-poaching camp close to Nanachi Gate of Nagarahole Range. He was in tiger habitat. He knew the dangers of sharing his backyard with the big cats, but it was his home. He had made his livelihood there, and it was all he had ever known. It had only been hours since he had said goodbye to his grandson, but as he left the comfort of his own home that morning, he was being watched by a predator that had already tasted human blood just hours before. It was the same tiger that had killed Chethan, and now it was coming for Raju. The tiger had fled the plantation and the body of Chethan, but remained in the area and had now stumbled upon another potential food source. It was just yards away from the door, concealed by the undergrowth. It fixed its eyes on the older man, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. When Raju's back was turned, the tiger decided to pounce. It attacked from behind, using the element of surprise to take down its prey. Millions of years of instinct packed into a muscular and powerful body. Raju let out a groan as he was floored by the predator. Its sharp claws dug into his flesh as it clung onto him with its powerful paws. He tried to put up a fight, but was pinned face down in the dirt. The tiger had struck again, and Raju was dead in seconds. His body was found later that morning by his family. For a tiger to strike the same family twice within 12 hours of each other was incomprehensible. When news spread of Raju's demise, it was too much for 56-year-old Jayama to take. She was the third family member to lose her life, but this time it wasn't at the jaws of the tiger. It was from shock and grief. Nothing could bring the three of them back, but many believed that things could have been done differently. The forestry department responsible for maintaining the reserve were strongly criticized by the locals for not searching for the tiger immediately after Chethan's attack. If they had dealt with it then they could have saved one, potentially two more lives. In their defense, they claimed that the light was fading and that they planned to send a search party out the following day. But that was too late for Raju. 25 camera traps were set up to locate the tiger. 5 elephants were used to search for it, and more than 150 field workers combed the thick brush in search for the predator. One camera revealed a tiger lounging in a large concrete tube. It rolled on its back with its paws in the air, oblivious to the hunt that continued outside. The day after the attack on Raju, when the search was in full swing, Deputy Range Forest Officer Ranjan spotted what he thought was the culprit. Skulking back in the coffee plantation where Chathan had lost his life was a tigress. She was old, around 12 years, and had been seen attacking cattle from nearby farms. Typically, tigers in the wild will live for 10 to 15 years. As they reach the end of their lives, they slow down and lose the ability to hunt. Livestock are much easier for tigers to hunt, humans even more so. The team that helped capture the tiger included 6 veterinarians. They tranquilized her, and when she stumbled to the ground, they lifted her onto the back of a jeep and transported her to the Animal Conservation, Rescue, and Rehabilitation Center at Kurgali. With the deadly man-eating tiger now removed from the wild, villagers in the area are hoping for a long break before another tiger takes someone else to their terrifying final affliction.